The new soundtrack to Summer in the City, illegal fireworks displays. Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another plain English lesson. I'm Jeff. JR is the producer, and this is lesson number 274. That means you can find the full lesson contents, including the transcript, translations, video, vocabulary, exercises, and all the rest at plainenglish.com/274. On today's lesson, with so many official fireworks displays canceled, Americans are setting off their own fireworks. That is causing conflict in the biggest cities where the only thing higher than the colorful fireworks themselves is the number of noise complaints. We'll be talking also about the English expression in a bind. You can guess the context that comes up in. Ready to go? Americans love their 4th of July fireworks, but many of them are now starting to hate the new form that our midsummer tradition has been taking. In many of America's biggest cities, including New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago, people have been setting off more fireworks than usual, leading to a spike in complaints. Setting off a small amount of fireworks is one of those things that's often illegal in a technical sense, but police departments give a fair amount of leeway to people who keep their fireworks under control. Outside of a big city, it's common for people to set off a few fireworks in the driveway or the backyard. Most neighbors and police departments are tolerant of a reasonable amount of this, as long as it's not too late at night. If police do get involved, at least in smaller towns and cities, it's usually to drive by and give people a friendly warning. Every year, there are public service media campaigns warning about the danger of setting off fireworks, and every year there are people who end up in the hospital or worse as a result of accidents. Even so, this is something that is generally tolerated in smaller towns. It's a part of everyone's childhood in small-town America, including mine. Big cities are a different story. It is illegal to set off fireworks within the city limits of most American cities. There are just too many people in close proximity to one another for that to be safe. It is even illegal to buy fireworks in certain states, especially those with large urban areas such as New York, Massachusetts, and Illinois. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Where I live in Illinois, it's illegal to buy fireworks. But you can drive about 30 minutes to the neighboring state of Indiana, a much more rural state where the fireworks rules are much more permissive. As soon as you cross the border, you see billboards on the highway advertising nearby fireworks warehouses. People buy them there and either bring them home to Illinois or sell them here. On any given summer night in Chicago, you would hear some fireworks in certain neighborhoods. Where I live, it's somewhat popular. In the more upscale neighborhoods, it's less so. But this year, it's many, many times worse than in previous years. And it's not just me saying so. Chicago has received over 7,000 complaints of fireworks this summer, a 700% increase over the previous year. In the first week of June, Boston saw almost 1,500 complaints compared with just 22 complaints in the same week the year before. About 11,000 people complained in New York in just 3 weeks in June. Last year, during the same period, the city received 28 complaints. Not 28,000, 28 complaints last year. This year, 11,000. To voice their frustration over the noise, a caravan of New Yorkers went outside the mayor's mansion on the Tony Upper East Side of Manhattan and leaned on their car horns in the middle of the night to demonstrate how difficult it is to sleep where they live in the more far-flung areas of the city. What is going on? For one thing, public official fireworks displays have been canceled due to COVID-19. Chicago, for example, typically has downtown fireworks displays every Wednesday and Saturday night for the whole summer. Those have been canceled. Many traditional July 4th fireworks displays in cities and smaller towns have also been canceled. If people want to see a fireworks display in 2020, it has to be the homemade kind. With cities not buying explosives for their own official displays, many distributors are left with large stockpiles and no buyers, so prices have fallen. People have been stuck inside with nothing to do for months. The owner of a popular fireworks chain said this is the biggest year he's ever had and that a lot of customers are buying fireworks for the first time. This new tradition puts big city governments in a bind. On the one hand, citizens are upset about over-aggressive police tactics. There's even a movement that calls for defunding police, meaning reducing the number of police officers on the streets. On the other hand, cities can't simply ignore the flood of complaints, many of them, no doubt, by the same people demanding the police eliminate officers. New York's mayor announced a task force of 40 officers to crack down on illegal fireworks. Rather than target the individuals who set them off, the new task force will target the illegal distributors of fireworks. There have been some high-profile busts. New York made dozens of arrests as they uncovered massive arsenals of fireworks in Brooklyn, Staten Island, and the Bronx. In one bust, they also found illegal guns. In another, they found 3 dead alligators. You might be wondering if it's an American tradition to set off fireworks with an alligator, but no, the alligators were unrelated to the fireworks, and they are not native to New York City. But I guess the kind of person who deals illegal fireworks in New York is the kind of person who might also have access to an alligator. I definitely noticed that the fireworks where I live are a lot more prevalent this year. I can sleep through almost anything, but I have woken up several times in the last few weeks from fireworks displays. It's easy for me to get back to sleep, but I wouldn't want to have a small child or a pet with all that going on. What technology are you using to learn English? Besides listening to plain English, that is, are you using apps? Do you have a teacher? Do you watch movies? Maybe take classes? Other websites? There are a lot of great options out there, and I'll be presenting some of those options in a free webinar here in a few weeks. The reason I'm doing it is simply because people have asked, what else can I do to practice English? What other tools can I use? Should I read books? Should I get a teacher? Those types of questions. So I thought, what better way to answer those questions than to do a whole web class on that topic? So that is what we are doing. Later this month, we'll be hosting a live webinar all about the best technology for learning English in 2020. You can find a link to that webinar on the homepage of plainenglish.com or in the show notes of this lesson if you're on an app. Today's expression is to be in a bind. To be in a bind is to be in a tough situation where there are no great choices. New York is facing a flood of complaints about illegal fireworks. At the same time, there is heightened criticism of the police for using aggressive tactics and using them more against minorities. It's no secret that the fireworks are more likely to be set off in minority neighborhoods. So what should they do? Ignore the fireworks and risk the anger of people complaining about noise? Or dedicate police resources and risk a public backlash for targeting minority communities right when there is heightened sensitivity about that? There are no good options. The mayor is in a bind, and a sleepless one at that. Parents working from home these days are in a bind. Kids are home from school, so they need attention and supervision during the day. But at the same time, the parents can't dedicate their full attention to work and working from home when they have kids to distract them. They are in a bind. Do they ignore the kids and focus completely on work? Or do they try to carve out time early in the morning and late at night for work? Some families I know alternate during the day. Which parent has more responsibility for watching the kids? It's not easy, especially when both work, both have calls and appointments. Those families are in a bind. I feel like we're all in a bit of a bind these days. It's just different for everyone. The leaders of your country might be in a bind because they want to open up the economies, but they also don't want to allow the coronavirus to spread. They don't have any good choices. Do you have elderly family members? Some older members of our society are most at risk of catching and dying from COVID-19, but often they're the least careful of everyone. I know more than a few people whose elderly relatives want to see them, but my friends are in a bind. Yes, they want to go. Yes, they want to provide companionship to their older relatives. Maybe let them see their grandkids. But they also don't want to be responsible for accidentally giving the virus to an elderly relative. They're in a bind. Sometimes you might ask for help when you're in a bind. You might say to your neighbor, "Hey, I'm in a bit of a bind. Can you help me out? I'm in the middle of making a big recipe and I realized I don't have enough eggs. Can I borrow an egg?" In this case, you're really asking to have the egg since you're not going to give it back, but we still say borrow an egg. Why are you in a bind? Well, you started making the recipe, it's half done, maybe you've got 2 things cooking on the stove, but you need 1 more egg to finish it off. You can't very well stop everything and go to the store, but neither can you finish the recipe without all the ingredients. You're in a bind. So what do? You can ask for help in this case. Here's a good quote for the beginning of the summer. The strangest summer we'll ever live, probably. It's by the writer George Sand, who wrote a memoir called A Winter in Mallorca. George Sand was the pen name of a female writer. She said in this memoir, "It is not so much a matter of traveling as of getting away. Which of us has not some pain to dull or some yoke to cast off?" A yoke in this case is like a weight on your shoulders. In these strange days where travel is not possible, remember these words. It's not so much a matter of traveling as of getting away. See if it's possible to get away, at least mentally, a little bit this year. That is all for today's lesson. If you choose to set off fireworks this year, please be careful, be considerate to your neighbors, and try to keep it to a reasonable hour. And remember that we'll be doing the free webinar on the best technology for learning English in 2020. Just visit the homepage of plainenglish.com to sign up for that. Or, better yet, if you're a free member, you can just look on your dashboard. That's it today. See you on Thursday.